it's Ann Kaplan from Ann Kaplan Childbirth Services and Mom Me. Super pumped to be here. You guys might not know this, but this is take 3 for me because Facebook sometimes just likes to give me a run for my money. So I have perfected this video for you guys. What we're talking about this week is picky eaters and how to deal with them, why they act the way they do, what to do about it, and what about when you're a picky eater, when you're pregnant. But what we're going to talk about today specifically is why do kids behave this way? Why are they picky eaters? Why do they act this way? Why do they get so stubborn about food? And how can we kind of relax and take the anxiety out of that stuff? Because I know firsthand how stressful it can be to deal with a picky eater. I've been the mom at a dinner party making mac and cheese for my kid just to get them to shut up, or making 10 different dinners or whatever, until I finally got my head on straight about how to deal with picky eating in my house. It was definitely a feeling of being a short order cook and really disrespected too. And it really made me super upset and worried for my kids, like they're not eating healthy foods, etc. And when I was trying to think of a story to tell you guys today, finally a light bulb went off in my head and I was like, I can't believe I didn't think of this sooner, because I remembered a story from when I was a kid. My sister Claire, we were all sitting at the dinner table and one of the things in our meal was peas, and my mom told Claire that she could not leave the table unless she ate all of the peas, unless all of the peas on her plate were gone, and she had to eat them all. And Claire wanted dessert. She wanted to leave the table, so she put all of those peas in her mouth. Her plate was clean. And after that, she got to eat her dessert. She got to play for the rest of the night, get ready for bed, and then it's almost time for bed. My mom goes in to try to help her brush her teeth, and she finds every single freaking pea that was on Claire's plate just wedged in the cheek pocket of her face, waiting there, because there was no way in freaking hell that my sister was going to eat those ding-dang peas, and nobody, including my mom, could tell her otherwise. And it was like hilarious. And now that I am a parent coach, I look at that story through the lens of a professional and think like, well, of course, power struggle, hello. And I loved that that lesson that comes from that, which is, do you guys think, even for 1 second, do you think that that whole thing between my sister and my mom had one freaking thing to do with peas? No, it didn't. It had nothing to do with peas. It's not about the peas. And that's the biggest lesson I want you guys to take from today's broadcast is it's not about food. It's almost never about food when you're dealing with picky eaters, when we're dealing with food power struggles and battles in the kitchen and all that stuff. It's almost never about food. So what is it about? I'm going to talk to you guys today about why do kids behave this way? Why are the kids picky eaters? And then I'm going to tell you, like, what can you do about it to help you just kind of take the anxiety level down a notch. So the reasons why kids are picky eaters are a bunch, but the most common reasons are, and the first and foremost reason is independence, especially when kids are like around 3 years old or in this toddler phase is when we start seeing kids be picky about food more and more. And it's because they're going through a developmental phase, a cognitive phase in their mental development where they are trying to separate from you. They're trying to individuate from you, to use a technical term. And one of the ways they do that is they exert their autonomy in every single time they can, whether it's fighting with you guys about food or putting their shoes on, wearing a jacket, cleaning their room. Basically, if you say up, they're going to say down. If you say peas, they're going to say, hell no, no peas. Thank you very much. So one of the reasons is independence. And guess what, you guys? It can be really frustrating when our kids act that way, but it's actually a sign that our kids are right on track and they're behaving exactly the way they're supposed to, because any kid worth keeping is going to be pushing boundaries and individuating from you every step of the way. That's just how humans grow. So when you see your kids pressing for that independence, try to remember that. Good luck. It's easier said than done. I can tell you guys to do it in a coaching video, but if you're watching me an hour from now, it might not look so pretty. The second reason I want to talk about is why kids are picky eaters isn't sometimes that they're actually being picky, but they just don't want to stop for moving, especially toddlers. They're so busy. They're go, go, go. They're just going all over the house. They're running. They're learning every single minute of their lives is some new adventure, a new experiment. It's hard to get them to hold still for more than 10 minutes to put food in their mouth and sit down and eat. The third thing is, and this actually can be really reassuring to you guys, and when I learned it, I was like, oh, that makes sense. So think about when your baby is a baby. Your baby is growing like at a breakneck pace. Imagine if you had to double your weight in 4 months on a liquid diet. That's what a baby does when it's first born. Can you believe that? It's insane. They're growing like bonker balls. And then sometime in the toddler phase, their growth rate slows down. And they just don't need as much food as they did before. Oh, that makes so much sense. Like, oh, right, they're probably not as hungry as they used to be when they were ravenously trying to double their size at some breakneck pace, right? So kids grow slower, and that means they need less as they get older. Of course, every kid goes through growth spurts, and if you have a teenager, you will get to witness that firsthand. It is horrifying. But in general, after that baby phase, kids grow at a slower rate, and they just don't need as much food, and they just don't need the quantity of food and the constant eating the way that they did when they were younger. The other thing to know is that, did you know that kids, especially young kids, actually have way more taste buds than adults? Like you don't have as many taste buds as your kid. So food actually tastes different to kids than it does to us. Like things that we think taste like totally fine and no big deal can taste like super, super powerfully bitter or sour to a kid. So it can be totally legit when your kid says they don't like some food. And then the other thing that I want to talk about, and I'm going to talk about this even more if you're in the private group this week, because it's actually the fundamental building block for all this stuff, is your kids came into this world with a perfectly intact mind-body connection. How jealous are you? Don't you wish you had that? You do have it. You just forgot. It's still there. But kids haven't forgot yet. They're listening to their bodies all the time. So we, as parents, often are imposing an external arbitrary system of when do you eat? How much do you eat? How do you eat? All of those things on our kids that may be totally counter to what their body is telling them. Like, I'm actually not hungry right now, or I actually am hungry right now. What? You can't be hungry. You just ate 10 minutes ago. Or you can't be hungry. We're having dinner in a half an hour. Things like that. So when your kid is responding to his own natural feelings of hunger or satiety, or the taste that it's having or whatever, that's not necessarily even a sign that they're being picky. When the pickiness comes in, when the power struggles come in, it is because of something totally outside of food, which is this need for independence and this need to find the things that they have power and agency over in their lives, which we as parents, of course, we want to encourage our children to make good choices. Understand that they have power to change their lives. When think about the adult you want your child to grow into, this person who knows that they can find happiness and make changes in their lives, and they have agency over their destiny, and that their happiness rests within themselves. Those are the kinds of things we want our kids to know. But when they're teaching it to themselves as toddlers, we want to puncture our own eardrums and gouge our eyeballs out because we just don't want to even deal with it, right? So doesn't make it any easier, but sometimes it gives us that little extra amount of patience to recognize, your kid is trying to be autonomous, and that's actually really great. So the reality is that I'm here to tell you guys is you can't make your kids eat. And not just with food. The biggest mistake we make as parents is when we try to tell our kids to do stuff that we can't actually make them do. Stop crying, go to sleep, eat your vegetables, put this jacket on. We can't make them do that. So as soon as you make a demand or put a demand on your child that's actually outside of your capabilities to make happen, you're automatically undermining your own credibility with your kid. Because the second that you say, eat your vegetables, especially a toddler, any toddler worth his salt is going to say, oh yeah, make me. And you can't. You can't make them. And so what you're doing is making a demand and encouraging an experiment that proves that you're powerless to your child. Not the best strategy, you guys. So the best thing to do is avoid those power struggles altogether. And on Thursday, I'm going to talk about actual super awesome tips of okay, no power struggle. Set up your kitchen this way. But what I want to talk about today is just relax, okay? First, ask yourself, why is it so important to me that my kid eats this pea or this Brussels sprout or whatever? And oftentimes the reason is, I want my kid to have a really great relationship with food. I want my kid to be getting all the nutrients that it needs. I want my kid to, eat a well-balanced diet and try new foods and all those things. So something that can be helpful when you're thinking about that stuff is, first of all, your goal, just like I just said, your goal is a lifelong relationship with food. It's not tonight. It's not this meal. It's not this plate. So fighting with your kid about food, you're not going to win, and you're also going to be actually decreasing your kids' likelihood of having a healthy relationship with food. And the second thing I want you to think about is go for a balanced week, not a balanced day, because kids are bonkers. They'll eat like all noodles one day and all bananas tomorrow and all oranges on, whatever. But as long as your kid's getting a little bit from every food group over the course of the week, you're good. And I actually can tell you that because my pediatrician gave me that advice when I was frustrated about this stuff when Elijah was a baby. As long as your kid's getting stuff from all the food groups at some point during the week, nutritionally, your kid is going to be okay. And then when we take that anxiety and that pressure off of the table as far as how to approach the power struggles and the picky eater thing, it becomes so much easier for us to just be like, okay, you don't want to eat it? Don't eat it. And the last message I have for you guys when it comes to this stuff is there has never in the history of the world been a child who sat in front of a plate of nutritious food and starved themselves to death. That never happened. So as long as you're providing a nutritious food for your child, which is your job as a parent, it is your child's job to take advantage of that opportunity. It is not your job to make them do that because it's not in your power to make them do that. And you can be assured that even though the job of parenthood is so huge and Herculean, you'll never have a job in parenthood that's outside of your capability to do. So if you've set a task for yourself that's actually impossible, that's not your task. That wasn't part of your job description. Getting your kid to eat their food is not part of your job description. That's your kid's job. It's your job to make it possible for them to choose to eat that food. So I hope that's helpful for you guys. I'm going to dig even deeper into this stuff on Thursday. We're going to talk about like tricks to get your kids to eat things, tricks to engage your kids, tricks to diffuse power struggles. That's all going to be on Thursday. Tomorrow, I'm going to talk about pregnancy picky eating, how it feels when we're so nauseous and queasy and everything sounds bad to us, and then we also feel guilty because we're growing a human out of Snicker Poppables and pancake batter, which is what I did with my first kid. So I'm going to give you guys some tips on how to deal with that stuff. If you would like to meet with me and have a one-on-one session where we craft a unique, individualized roadmap for you, whether it's about food with your kids, whether it's about discipline, whether it's about getting more energy in your day, getting on track after the holidays, losing your baby weight, getting back in shape, whatever your personal goals are, sign up for a free session with me. You guys, I do them all the time, and I've never had one person do a session with me and walk away with anything less than excitement and enthusiasm for how they're going to attack their problems going forward. That's what Mom Me is all about. It's what I do all day long, you guys. I love you so much. I'm going to put a post in the comments below for you guys to get your free sessions. And I hope this video is helpful for you. This was the topic that you voted on. I'm so excited to know that I'm doing videos and putting content out there that's exactly what you guys want. So the more you chime in, the more you tell me, the more you share, the more you comment, the more you like, the more I know how to serve you best. And that's what I love to do. Have an amazing Tuesday. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.